और इन्हीं चीजों को देखते हुए आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑन द ऑनरेबल politicians, all the organs of the country, the institutions, they should sit together and chalk out a policy and strategy. The country is being run by the people, with the will of the people, by their chosen representatives. लेकिन unfortunately, we have seen कि आज हम फिर एक क्राइसिस से गुजर रहे हैं। हम ना अपनी सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट्स को मानने के लिए तैयार हैं। अगर हमारे फायदे के लिए है तो हम उसको मान लेते हैं, अगर हमारे खिलाफ जाती है तो हम नहीं मानते। हम एक इंतशार की सूरत हाल से गुजर रहे हैं। और मैं ये बात इसलिए करना चाह रहा हूं कि आज ख्वातीनो हजरात, फॉरेन डिग्नेटरीज और मेरे मुस्तकबिल के तमाम तालिब इल्म और यंग जनरेशन मौजूद है। और हमने अपनी यंग जनरेशन को फ्यूचर के लिए जो लीड देनी है, हमने एक मुस्तहकम पाकिस्तान, एक मुस्तहकम आईन, एक मुस्तहकम डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम की बुनियाद रखनी है। मैं बहैसियत प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट बार एसोसिएशन ये अर्ज करना चाहता हूं कि मोहतरमा आसमा जहांगीर के दिए हुए उस रास्ते पे चलते हुए आपने देखा सुप्रीम कोर्ट बार एसोसिएशन filed a petition before the Honorable Supreme Court for the enforcement of Article 95 of the Constitution, and in consequence whereof a democratic process which pertains to vote of no confidence that was enforced, and in consequence of that democratic process the गवर्नमेंट वाज चेंज। क्या हम नहीं चाहते कि इस मुल्क में आईन और कानून की बालादस्ती हो, आईन की सुपरमेसी हो, कानून की अमलदारी हो? हमें मानना चाहिए when we have the majority we have the authority to rule, but when we lose the majority we must admit that the other party must be given. This is the only way कि आप रिस्पेक्ट करो अपने मैंडेट को और आप अपोजिशन के मैंडेट को रिस्पेक्ट करो। बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली यहां पे एक इंतशार की सूरत हाल पैदा की जा रही है। एंड वी बिलीव इन द सुपरमेसी ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एंड रूल ऑफ लॉ। और इसीलिए मैं हमेशा ये कहता हूं कि mere on the basis of certain protests, certain mobs, we cannot change the whole legal system. We should not be scared that one comes with hundreds or thousands of people. The honorable judges must adhere to the provisions of the Constitution. They should not be scared from the mob. चूंकि मैं ये समझता हूं कि मेरी ये जो यंग जनरेशन मेरे सामने बैठी हुई है, इनको सिर्फ हमने जल्द से जलूस का दर्स नहीं देना, इनको हमने रूल ऑफ लॉ की बात सिखानी है। आप हमारा मुस्तकबिल हो, आप चाहते हो कि इस मुल्क में इंतशार पैदा हो, आप चाहते हो यहां आईन को बार बार तोड़ा जाए, यहां आप चाहते हो कि यहां डेमोक्रेटिक रूल्स को नाम को पामाल किया जाए? मैं समझता हूं द आंसर इज नो। द आंसर इज दिस इज द लेसन गिवन बाय द आसमा जहांगीर, और हमने इसी को आगे लेके चलना है। यहां मैं एक बात कीपिंग taking the advantage of Honorable Chief Guest, I would like to again reiterate the stand of Supreme Court Bar Association and Pakistan Bar Council and the legal fraternity. And I'm taking this benefit, the Honorable Chief Guest as well as the Honorable Law Minister is, and they are both the members of the Judicial Commission for the appointment of judges. We have seen in the recent past some of the very competent judges fell victim of the internal politics of the institution. But now, again, the Commission is likely to consider the honorable judges for appointment in Supreme Court. And Bar stand with the principle of seniority. Bar stand with the principle of seniority. We have consulted with the Member Judicial Commission on behalf of Pakistan Bar Council, Mr. Akhtar Hussain. We have discussed the whole matter threadbare, and we have given instructions with consensus that out of the 4 candidates, only one is the senior Chief Justice, that is Justice Athar Manila, and we endorse only Athar Manila, and we disapprove rest of the 3 candidates. So, I think, keeping in view this request of the Bar, Honorable Commission will consider all these things. Similarly, I would like to explain about the 26 amendments. We, being a student of politics and history, we have seen the only one dictator whose name was Ziaul Haq. He just through one amendment destroyed and dismantled the whole constitution. And that, through that amendment, we are still bleeding and suffering. We are still bleeding and suffering. You just see, he imported this 62(1)(f) and similar so many articles, and whereby so many politicians have been put to graveyard for all time to come. And there is a judgment by the Honorable Justice Qazi Faiz Isa to consider this matter by the full court. I would like to explain about my another petition before the Honorable Supreme Court. That is with regard to Article 63A. After the petition on enforcement of Article 95, another petition came from the presidency to answer a reference whereby Article 63 of the Constitution had been interpreted absolutely in wrong way. And in my humble view, the Constitution is not only abrogated by the people who are in brown uniform. Sometimes the provisions of the Constitution have been abrogated under the garb of interpretation of law. And this was done by the honorable judges. And similar is the position with regard to the interpretation of Article 63A, whereby certain things have been imported in the Constitution. And this is the principle of interpretation. No word can be imported and no word can be deleted from the Constitution, but in the present interpretation. And that's why we went before the Honorable Court and we requested there should be a full court. But for the reasons best known to the Honorable Chief Justice, only out of 12 or 13 4 or 5 judges are holding the field. And all this can be seen. But we expect, we hope for the better future. Inshallah, by the grace of Almighty, our senior peony, Mr. Justice Qadi Faiz Isa, will take, and all these matters which are suggestions of the bar with regard to the constitution of benches, with regard to the constitutional matters, he will work for the posterity. He will work for the posterity. We hope for the best. So, my इन्हीं गुजारिशात के साथ, इन्हीं ख्यालात के साथ मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ. I am so grateful to all the people who have gathered here all over the country from the foreign jurisdictions to share their views and to share the memories and the path given by Asma Jahangir. I am also grateful for the lower judiciary sessions Judge Lahore, Mr. Tanveer Akbar, and the honorable judges of lower judiciary who are here. So, इन्हीं गुजारिशात के साथ मैं दोबारा तमाम का और अपनी पूरी की पूरी एग्जेक्टिव कमेटी, the elected members of the Supreme Court Bar Association, the whole executive is present here. I am grateful to them. They are all here being co-hosts of the two-day conference. With all these remarks, I am so grateful and thankful to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhoon Saab. Bhoon Saab, of course, speaks as always with great force and eloquence. So I thank him for his views. The next speaker, who would have been a host of this conference and has been a host of this conference, but this time is on the other side as a guest, very temporarily, is Mr. Azam Nazir Tarad, the Federal Law Minister, and we are delighted to have him here. Mr. Azam Nazir Tarad.
Thank you so much, Sarup. Let me make a clarification. I'm not on the other side. I'm still the host of the event. Honorable Justice Qazi Faiz Isa, Mr. Hassan Bhoon, President, Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Hafizur Rahman Chaudhry, Vice Chairman, Pakistan Bar Council, Excellencies, the members of the Presidium, bar leaders, representatives of the civil society, my very dear members of the bar and students, friends, fans and followers of Asma Jahangir, Assalamu alaikum. I think much has been said by the distinguished speakers about the topic of the day. Being part of Asma Jahangir Foundation, I am so glad to be here and share my views with you. This is the fourth consecutive conference after the demise of Asma Jahangir. The Asma Jahangir Foundation is holding it, and I'm so happy with the passage of time. The number of participants is growing to the extent that Munize and Nida, I believe that next time we have to consider for some sports stadium to accommodate our participants in the conference. I'm truly honored to be here today to participate in this discourse on a very sensitive subject, the crisis of constitutionalism in South Asia, a matter which requires our serious attention as we aim to progress as a nation that acknowledge and promote the rule of law, and that is a principle under which all persons, institutions, and entities are accountable to the laws that are passed by the legislature. In this year's conference, all these issues will be discussed, but we can never forget the defiant voice that Asma Jahangir raised to promote rule of law, constitution, justice, peace and democracy in Pakistan. Asma will always be remembered for her passion, strength and her lasting contributions to Pakistan. She was an illustrious human rights activist who bravely fought for the less fortunate people in Pakistan, often at great personal risk. And we have been witness, many of us have been witness to this. She championed the cause of women, children, bonded labor, religious minorities, journalists, the disappeared ones, and so many others. She confronted injustice wherever she saw it, and she could not be coerced by mightiest, well-entrenched bullies. She was a matchless, brave fighter who established Pakistan's first all-women legal firm in Lahore and was one of the founders of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. Asma Jahangir's human rights were not only limited to Pakistan. She served as UN Special Rapporteur 3 times on extrajudicial summary or arbitrary executions, on freedom of religion or belief, and on Iran. She fought for cause of rule of law and constitutionalism and was a staunch opponent of role of undemocratic forces in Pakistan, injustice and inequality. I was just considering I have a written speech which consists of 11 pages, but I believe being the second last speaker, I should leave it to the chief guest of this evening, Mr. Justice Qazi Faiz Isa, who always comes very well prepared and do justice with the topic. I would only be sharing my heart with the participants, and on the behalf of government, I must state that Government of Pakistan is committed to perform its constitutional obligations and duties in a manner to ensure enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed under the Constitution. The government is also very clear that the rights activists and organizations must be provided an environment where they can freely function and serve the neglected and oppressed segments of the society. Once again, I congratulate the organizers of this conference, and I also always consider one of them. I can see so many faces who actually worked with Asma Marhuma shoulder to shoulder. Mr. Frasyab Khatek, Sher Lala is sitting there, Shehwani Saab is also there, Yasin Azad, Dr. Malik Saab, Sardar Tahir and many others. And I look forward that in coming events, all of us will be benefited by the comments of the distinguished speakers at the panels. I request all my young colleagues from the bar and the students to keep coming on all sessions. We will have concluding session by tomorrow evening. I wish all the best to all of you, and once again thank you so much, the honorable dignitaries and excellencies. You traveled from Islamabad. I know the conditions were not very congenial, but you made it. We look forward for a strong kind of cooperation in this regard in future as well. Thank you very much.
काबिल-ए-साद एहतराम ख़वातीन व हज़रात, इससे पहले कि सरूप एजाज साहब चीफ गेस्ट जनाब जस्टिस काजी फ़ायज़ ईसा साहब को दावत ख़ताब दें, मैं एक दरख्वास्त करना चाहता हूँ। ये आज की कॉन्फ्रेंस चूँकि आसमा जहांगीर कॉन्फ्रेंस है और आसमा जहांगीर की रिवायात को लेकर हम अपना सफ़र जारी रखे हुए हैं। आसमा जहांगीर ग्रुप के प्लेटफॉर्म से सबाहत रिजवी एडवोकेट को सेक्रेटरी की उम्मीदवार के तौर पर नामज़द किया गया है। मैं दरख्वास्त करूँगा कि उस रिवायत के तसलसल में तमाम लीगल फ्रेटर्निटी के दोस्त और सिविल सोसाइटी के दोस्त 150 साल की तारीख को तब्दील करने में अपना किरदार अदा करें। हाई कोर्ट बार एसोसिएशन की हिस्ट्री में आज तक कोई खातून सेक्रेटरी मुंतखब नहीं हुई। ये चैलेंज उस खातून ने एक्सेप्ट किया है। आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू कंसोलिडेट द स्ट्रगल फॉर द वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट इन दिस सोसाइटी। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, Tarak Saab. Thank you, Saki Saab. And now, as Saki Saab has said, we'll move to the the chief guest for our inaugural session. And he is uniquely placed to speak about the crisis of constitutionalism, both because of his expertise, because of his brilliance, because of his command of law, but also for unique circumstances that require no belaboring here. We are delighted to have His Lordship Justice Qazi Faiz Isa with us. He has been a voice for rule of law, for independence of judiciary, for constitutionalism, and equally importantly, His Lordship has also been a voice from within the institution for judicial reform, for holding the judiciary accountable, for holding himself to the gold standard of accountability. And we are honored and privileged to have him here, Your Lordship.
Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, Assalamu alaikum. It's a beautiful greeting. Peace be upon you. Gender neutral includes the individual, includes collectivism. So I don't think there can be a better greeting than that. And it is meaningful as opposed to a good morning. I don't know what that means. Peace be upon you. We move ahead. I'm truly humbled and deeply honored with, first of all, just to be here to honor a great lady of determination, of, I like the word confrontation used, and resistance. I'm not sure if she would approve of what her daughter said. We don't want to be non-controversial or non-agitational. I don't know. And of course, she was passionate. I encountered her, encounter would probably be the right word, in the Supreme Court when the District Bar Association case was being heard. I was the junior most judge on that bench of the full court, 17 of us, when the 21st Amendment to the Constitution was being discussed, which was whether civilians can be tried by military courts. I was in a minority of 5. We failed, but the struggle continues and shall continue, inshallah. And with the word inshallah, I must honor the Spanish ambassador. And he would say, Ojalá. And I see that there is I don't know how they knew it, but some of my favorite countries in the world are here on this table. Spain, of course, there is a Spanish connection, as you all by now know. Sri Lanka, where my family, my children love to always go for a holiday, their favorite place. Norway, probably the most beautiful country in the world. Sweden, probably having the gentlest, finest people in the world. And there are many others. Norway also brings something which has brought something good. I mean, of course, I commend that Mr. Knut Ostby from speaking in Urdu. I will not attempt Norwegian. I will recognize the trolls. They were a naughty bit, but trolling now has been incorporated into the English language. That's another Norwegian contribution, maybe not a nice one. Another, moving ahead, this topic is such a vast topic, one doesn't know where to begin and where to end. It is constitutionalism and the role of institutionalism. There is a question mark after constitutionalism. I don't quite know what it meant. The doctrine of trichotomy of powers or distribution of powers between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary is also enshrined in our constitutions. The legislature makes the law, the executive implements it, and the judiciary acts to ensure that everyone is treated fairly. We talk about institutions. In Pakistan, we have a parallel vocabulary now. We assume that there are institutions which are actually not institutions. The armed forces is not an institution. It is part of the executive. Executive branches too, the civilian part, the military part. The judiciary is an institution. The legislature is an institution. Now, Pakistan came into being when the Muslim majority areas of the subcontinent voted, and I stress the word voted, to form a separate homeland. Democratic, the foundations were democratic. It needed a constitutional structure. The Constituent Assembly was given the role to do that. The Constituent Assembly comprised of the elected representatives of the people. First derailment took place when the Constituent Assembly was dissolved. The president of the Constituent Assembly was a gentleman from the then East Pakistan, Maulvi Tamizuddin, and that resonates in the history of Pakistan, the Maulvi Tamizuddin Khan case. He was the president of the Constituent Assembly. It was dissolved. Prime Minister Khwaja Nazimuddin, one of the leading lights of the Pakistan movement, was kicked out by a bureaucrat, Ghulam Muhammad. So the first attack on democracy, on constitutionalism, was by a bureaucrat, Ghulam Muhammad. This attack was challenged successfully by Maulvi Tamizuddin before the then Chief Court of Sindh, now the Sindh High Court, and the bench was headed by Justice Constantine, other members of Justice Vilani, Justice Muhammad Bachal, and Justice Muhammad Bakhsh. They unanimously set aside the attack on the judiciary. However, the forces of darkness prevailed in the federal court, where a court headed by the then Chief Justice of the Federal Court, the Supreme Court then was known as the Federal Court, with a majority of 4-1, set aside the judgment of the High Court and sustained the dissolution order, and there was a vote of dissent there, Justice Cornelius. We then get the 1956 Constitution. It didn't last very long. Within 2 years, the executive again attacked the Constitution. That was General Sikandar Mirza and General Muhammad Ayub. This resulted in the ancillary case of the Doso case, presided over by Justice Muhammad Munir, the Chief Justice, and he endorsed the attack, endorsed the rule of Muhammad Ayub, General Muhammad Ayub, in the Doso case, and he then could not find anything within the confines of Constitution, within the great history of Islam, within the great history of civilizations of the world. He went to the homeland, birthplace of Hitler, Austria. I'm not just trying to disparage Austria, it's just coincidental. Hitler was a menace to Europe, and unfortunately, a professor's theory was a menace to Pakistan. That professor was Hans Kelsen of Austria, with his pure theory of law, a professor who never expected that he would be thrown on the world stage or anyone would read his book of the pure theory of law, was used as a doctrine to sustain military rule against democracy against the destruction of the democratic structure, against the uprooting of the constitution of Pakistan. So this is the next phase. What we then had was uninterrupted brutal rule of General Muhammad Ayub. Pakistan, when it came onto the world stage, it was an idea that the leadership of the All India Muslim League, under the guidance, under the leadership of one of the greatest constitutional minds of the time, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, enlightened, awaked the slumbering Muslim mind to yearn for freedom, and that they did. The spark was lit, freedom was attained, barriers were crossed, linguistic, ethnic, cultural. Two people separated by 1,000 miles came together. No precedent in world history. The largest Muslim population country in the world was placed on the world stage. It was known as Pakistan, the land of the good or the land of pure. This, however, as I mentioned, the ethos of Pakistan was Islamic, its foundation was democratic, and its structure was constitutional. When you take these away, what happens is that the eastern wing lost heart. They decided to part ways with us, and East Pakistan then became Bangladesh. And what remained of West Pakistan is today's Pakistan. With a new country, technically it becomes a new country, we needed a new constitution, and that is the Constitution of 73. The Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, 73. Another significant achievement by the elected representatives of the people, unanimously approved. There were then 200 directly elected representatives of the people in the National Assembly. 196 gave affirmative votes. There were 4 abstentions, not a single dissent. So the unanimous doctrine, the social contract between the people, the state, came forward in the shape of the Constitution of 1973. And the architect of this Constitution was Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. We have then the third attack on democracy and the Constitution. And 2 important cases came to the Supreme Court of Pakistan. One, first let me give a little background of history. General Ziaul Haq on 5th July 1977 arrested Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, sent packing, abolished all the Parliament, the National Assembly, the Provincial Assembly, and became the Chief Martial Law Administrator, whatever that means. Bhutto was tried not by a military court, sadly by a civilian court. The unprecedented trial did not take place as all criminal trials in Pakistan before, and all criminal trials in Pakistan since take place in the Sessions Court. This took place in the High Court. That is another story. I will leave what happened to that trial before the High Court. So the accused lost one right of appeal, which in a murder trial, as the distinguished law minister, who is a very able, was a very able criminal lawyer, now law minister, would say, and that Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto lost a right of one appeal. The matter went before the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Here, the Supreme Court of Pakistan was presided over by Anwarul Haq, and the other, it was a 7-member bench. 4 upheld the conviction and the death penalty, and 3 did not and set aside the conviction. Justice Muhammad Halim from Sindh, Justice Dorab Patel, a Zoroastrian from my province, Balochistan, and Justice Safdar Shah from the now province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So with a razor-thin majority, a man was hung. Unprecedented. Whenever there is a dissent on the matter of capital punishment, even if you were to uphold the conviction, you do not pass the sentence of death. It is an imprisonment for life. But yet again another precedent, yet another, if I may say so, and a bad precedent. The matter, and incidentally, it is, unless Mr. Tara corrects me, the longest written criminal judgment in the history of Pakistan, 950 paragraphs. I've never come across a criminal judgment that long, because it's very few things you have to determine. We just have to analyze the evidence and a few statements, and that's about it. Anyways, that was the judgment. Maybe it were troubled consciences which makes you write and gave fluidity to the pen. I don't comment. The other important case was by his wife, the Prime Minister's wife, Begum Nusrat Bhutto. This challenged the imposition of martial law. Again, this was presided over by Justice Anwarul Haq, and the petition was dismissed as being not maintainable. Imagine, the Constitution has been torn up, democracy has been thrown aside, and the petition is found not maintainable. Sadly, and I say it with the greatest of sadness, some of the persons who were in the minority in the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto trial case joined the majority in this case. But that is so. So Pakistan has a very tumultuous history as far as politics is concerned. The first Prime Minister of Pakistan was assassinated, Liaquat Ali Khan Shaheed. The second Prime Minister, Khwaja Nazimuddin from Dhaka, East Pakistan, was dismissed by a bureaucrat. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was ordered to be hung on the orders of the Supreme Court, and with comes the 4th constitutional deviation, significant constitutional deviation I should add, and that was by General Pervez Musharraf. Once again, the case of Zafar Hadi Shah. This time the Chief Justice was Irshad Hassan Khan, and sadly included others like Chaudhry Iftikhar and Rana Bhagwan Das. And once again the Unconstitutional Act was endorsed, and the power to amend the Constitution was given by those who did not have this power, who could not bestow this power to someone who could not exercise it. Whether one laughs or cries, I don't know. The Supreme Court told General Pervez Musharraf, yes, your acts are legal, your acts are constitutional. Oh, by the way, have this power to amend the Constitution as well. You don't have it, you're a paid servant of the state. We don't have it, we are also paid servants of the people, but we give it to you nonetheless. Then what happens on his watch? A former Prime Minister, Benazir Bhutto, is assassinated. What then happens, and I say it with considerable bit of shame, is the role of the judiciary. There have been good, there have been bad, but I'm laying it out as there is. It is the people who judge. We judge, but you all judge us. You judge us. I would only request that you don't judge us as an institution, because there is good in the institution, there is also bad in the institution. Judges judge us as judges. Condemn me as a judge. Do not condemn the Supreme Court. Condemn a general who violates the Constitution by name. Do not condemn the military or the armed forces of Pakistan. Condemn a bureaucrat by name. Do not condemn the executive of Pakistan. And that is the important distinction. We talk about the roles of institutions, we should talk about the roles within institutions. That is the key. The constitutional aspects we'll keep considering. We should not, there is good and evil, there's good and bad everywhere. So let us separate the good from the bad. And I, for one, welcome criticism. Speaking in my personal capacity, criticize me to your heart's content. You will never be hauled up for contempt of court. But do not criticize the institution, because without institutions, a country implodes, it breaks apart. And I'm not talking philosophically, I'm talking practically. We've seen it happen. We are seeing it happening. So we have to be very careful. Pakistan needs the judiciary, Pakistan needs the executive, Pakistan needs the military part of the executive, and more than anything else, Pakistan needs to be led by the elected representatives of the people. Pakistan needs democracy. You remove democracy from Pakistan, you stab it in the back. You destroy it, you are the enemy of the people, you are the enemy of the state, and that is what Article 6 says. I have an added burden which all of you do not have. I and the law minister here, the others do not. That is to uphold the constitution of Pakistan and to preserve and defend it. All of you have to abide by the constitution under Article 5. So there is a greater test for those who are paid by all of you, which is us. We don't pay you. The elected representatives of the people are not paid. They receive a stipend for the duration that they are an MPA, MNA, or as with the grace of the Almighty, become a federal minister, you may get a salary only for the duration. We are taken care of for life. We get pensions. They don't. The MPs, the MNAs, they don't get pensions, and they get a stipend, and that is not comparable with the salaries of those who are paid by the people of Pakistan. That is you. Please do hold us accountable individually. Another Prime Minister removed this time, and this is another first contempt of court law. Never happened before. So we get an assassination, we get a hanging, we get a removal, we get a dissolution, now we get a contempt removal. Does it end there? Sadly, no. Now we're coming into the trickier waters of recent times. Now, another Prime Minister is removed for non-disclosure of notional income which he never received. I'm not going to comment about this judgment. I'm just saying what it says. It says, Mr. Prime Minister, you were entitled to receive salary, you did not receive it, and you did not disclose it. So, you're not a good Muslim. So we sent you home. That's what the judgment says. I won't say if I agree or not. Anyways, that's what it says. And how was it done? Before that, it was preceded by something called JIT. Now, we have become very, by the way, for those who don't know, maybe the foreign guests, it's Joint Investigation Team. actually a term with which I was also pretty unfamiliar, because in all the laws of Pakistan, you'll search for it, you'll find it only one place, and that is in the Anti-Terrorism Act. I don't think it is found anywhere else, and the distinguished lawyers like Mr. Abid Saki and Mr. Hassan Boone and Mr. Hafiz ur Rahman, whether can correct me whether there is mention of JIT anywhere else other than the Terrorism Act. But anyways, the normal people who do their work, no, you can't do it, we'll do it this way. Okay, fine. So we get a JIT. Another very acronym, like we live in a parallel universe sometimes, is PCO. So, Provisional Constitutional Order. Where is it found anywhere? No, it is not found anywhere. Why do you mention it? Well, you have to mention it. Why? Too complicated. Another acronym which all of us have come to know is FATF. Very few know what it actually means, Financial Action Task Force. And I'm ever so glad that from the grey list we have finally gone to the white list. Now I wonder whether if the international body can impose something on us like the FATF and require compliance, cannot you, the citizens of Pakistan, do something similar? Let's call it the CMDC. The Citizens Monitor of Democracy and Constitutionalism. Is that a good acronym for you? Citizens Monitor of Democracy and Constitutionalism. Monitor us all. Monitor those in power. Monitor those whose salaries you are paying. Monitor those whose pensions you are paying. How would I translate it? I was going to speak in Urdu, but for the respect to our foreign guest, I decided to change to English, and probably उर्दू में इसको शायद कहा जाए जमहूरियत और आइन के शहरी निगरान. शायद आप में से जो बेहतर उर्दू जानते हैं वो बता सकेंगे. जमहूरियत और आइन के शहरी निगरान. And let's have a black, grey and a white list. Let me start with my own institution. यानी कि काली सुरमाई और सफ़ेद लिस्टें बनाइए, not of institutions but of individuals within the institutions. Now, let me speak about my institutions. I don't want to raise fingers at other institutions. In my personal opinion, and I now speak as a student of law, not as a judge. I speak as a student of history, not as a judge. I speak as a student of politics. I would put in the black list Justice Muhammad Munir. I would put in the black list Justice Anwarul Haq. I would put in the black list Justice Irshad Hassan Khan. I would put in the white list Justice Constantine, Justice Villani, Justice Bachal, Justice Mohammad Bakhsh. And we have a grey list. There are too many names there. Let's ignore it for the time being. And now, if I may dare so and consider the executive, I will put in the black list General Ayub, General Zia, General Pervez Musharraf. Now, I'm not making any sort of statement, but I would put in the white list 2 white Englishmen, not because they are white. Now, that took you by surprise, didn't I? The first Commander-in-Chief of the Pakistan Army, General Sir Frank Walter Maservey. He fought in the First and the Second World Wars, and he was the first Commander-in-Chief of Pakistan, of United Pakistan, of one Pakistan. I would put it in a higher, even a whiter of a white list would be General Sir Douglas Gracie And why do I put him? Why do I put the second commander-in-chief of the Pakistan Army in that list? I would put him in that list. And now my source of information is a book written by a brother of an army chief. The army chief was General Asif Nawaz. From 91 to 93, he was the army chief. And his brother was Shuja Nawaz. And his book is Crossed Swords, Pakistan, its Army and Wars Within. If you get an opportunity, do buy it and read it. And he narrates an incident here. He said, General Ayub wanted a plot and applied to General Sir Douglas Gracie, his superior commanding officer. He was rebuffed. So here begins the politics of plots. The politics of plots is very interesting in Pakistan. So whether it was and I don't raise fingers on other institutions because they say when you raise a finger, 4 point towards you. Let me address the fingers pointing towards me. And my institution and those within it, there is, as you know, Article 19A of the Constitution of Pakistan. It's one of the many countries, or many civilized countries of the world do not have this. It's a right to access to information in all matters of public importance. Now, someone filed a writ petition somewhere, I read about it in the newspaper, that the Supreme Court has filed a writ petition and the case is pending before the High Court. What? Nobody asked me. I'm supposed to be a judge of the Supreme Court. Registrar Supreme Court. Is he more powerful than me? Oh, I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to the Chief Justice of Pakistan. The letter is dated 16 December 2021. And I quote just one line from it. It's a long letter. Can a public institution... let me explain. What had happened was that the Pakistan Information Commission had passed some order requiring some disclosure of some information about employees or whatever of the Supreme Court. I don't know what he asked for because we were never asked, and the registrar took it upon himself to challenge it without taking at least my permission. I don't know whose permission he took, and he went in before the Supreme Court. Now, Supreme Court is standing as a litigant before the High Court. I can't wrap my head around that, but let that be. I wrote in my letter, can a public institution funded by taxpayers object if information about it is sought? What was the answer to that letter written on 6th of December 2021? None. Earlier, I am sometimes criticized, ridiculed, castigated, abused for writing letters. How else should I defend the Constitution of Pakistan? How else should I defend your fundamental rights? How else would we make Article 19A meaningful and not a dead letter law? I wrote an earlier letter, 24th of June 2020, addressed to the Chief Justice of Pakistan, that a file came to me offering me a plot in some sector of Islamabad at a nominal price which I could flog next day and earn quite a nice retirement passage. I thought, I looked at our appointing order, the 5th schedule I think it is, which provides what the judge should get, the presidential order, whether we are entitled to this. I couldn't find anything anywhere. I discussed it with my family. My son, who's a bit naughty, Baba, you don't want it? I can have it for my retirement. Well, anyways, I wrote a letter to the Chief Justice. I said, I have checked the law. I can't find this. Are we entitled to this thing? And if so, can you please provide me with the law on the subject? And can you also provide me, because I wanted to know if anybody has taken plots or not, who amongst the judges have taken plots? Promptly came the answer the next day. And I quote, because you won't believe it, if I did not. Laws are available in the law books. In other words, a rebuke from the Chief Justice of Pakistan to his colleagues that how ignorant you are, that you don't know about this law, go find it yourself. And as regards the other aspect of my letter, asking about information, this is personal. It cannot be shared with anyone, quote unquote. Now saddened a bit, hurt a bit, probably a little angry, responded the very same day. And I write, like the proverbial unicorn, I cannot find this law. And those holding office under the Constitution cannot plead confidentiality when they receive something on account of the office they hold. It is not personal information. It is not because I am getting this because of the office I hold, not otherwise. Another letter, another circular comes around, and that you are entitled to get gifts of prohibited bore weapons. What? From the Ministry of Interior. So I write again, plead guilty, write too much. 14th of September 2019. I said, how are we entitled to this? Article 25 applies equally to all, including judges. How can we, by the way, there were 9 categories of persons in that list who could get this facility: the President, the Prime Minister, the judges of the superior courts. 7 of them were constitutional office holders, and there were 2 more categories. I won't go into those constitutional because I really want accountability within first. Did I receive an answer? No answer to this one either. So I don't know. We should be grateful to the lady in whose honor this conference is being held. How did she become famous? How did she become known? She became known because of this book, because of a decision in this book. The decision in this book is Miss Asma Jilani, as she then was, versus the government of the Punjab. And the number of the appeal is very interesting. Criminal appeal number 19 of 1972, freedom of speech and expression. So anyway, Asma Jilani, and can you imagine, it's 50 years to the day when this decision happened. Her father, Malik Jilani, was incarcerated under the Defense of Pakistan rules. The other petition, 2 petitions were heard, was by the daughter of Altaf Gohar, the editor of Dawn, who had been picked up under one of those laws. So this was challenged. Now, but don't judges come under pressure, fear? No, they don't. I was Chief Justice for 5 years. Nobody called me to ask anything. So if anybody tells you there is pressure, they are not true to their oath of office. If anyone says we are being pressurized with someone, and you can't, as the saying goes, if you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, get out. And if you are pressurized and you sell the country, history will remember you. You all will pass judgment. There won't be any consequences. It will be in the history books. Those persons, like myself, would have gone away. And now, how it saddened me. It brought tears to my eyes when a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Pakistan said that there was pressure on me, and he said that on television, public television, by General Ziaul Haq to do this judgment in the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto case. Do you hang? Do you take away a person's life because of pressure? If you couldn't handle it, a resignation letter would have sufficed. Let us learn from our own history. Let us not learn from the Professor Hans Kelsen of Austria. Let the Muhammad Munirs, let the Anwarul Haqs learn from the example of Imam Malik, the founder of one of the foremost schools of Islamic law. The former school of, there are 4 Sunni schools of Islamic law. Imam Malik's was the first. He lived and died in Medina. His book, Al-Muwatta, those of interested in Islamic history and religion, what did he do and say? He gave a ruling, religious ruling, which we call fatwa, saying that divorce under compulsion is no divorce. Now, on its own, you would say, well, why should he suffer for that? Well, he did suffer for that, and I would like to read you his exact words. What the ruler of the day perceived this, because then there was oaths of allegiance used to be taken, Bai'at, and under compulsion. So the ruler said that by analogy this will be used against me, that if a divorce under compulsion is no divorce, then an oath under allegiance is no divorce. So he was called upon to recant. He said, I will never recant what I believe to be the faith, what I know to be the truth. What happened to him? He was imprisoned. He suffered indignities. He was tortured. Still did not recant. All he had to, then he was told, stop. Okay, you don't want to recant? Stop telling people about this thing, that divorce under compulsion is no divorce. He didn't do that either. So he was paraded through the streets of Medina. It was a great humiliation for a great scholar to have his beard shaven off. That indignity he suffered, and he was paraded. So if I shave off my beard, probably you may not recognize me. So whilst he was being paraded, he said, Anas bin Abbi, and he introduced himself. He said, those of you who recognize me would recognize me that I am Malik, the son of Anas. And those of you who don't know that I am Malik, son of Anas, and I say, divorce under compulsion is no divorce. So this is our glorious tradition. No pressure. Is he the solitary example? No. Come to the another founder of Abu Hanifa, and this part of the world, Muslims, majority at least, are belonging to the Hanafi sect of Islam. What happened to him? He told the ruler, and I should just, he did not, this is after the Umayyad Caliphate was overthrown by the Abbasids. And Safa, as you know, was a barbarian who killed many. And his brother, Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, was the founder of considered the founder of the Abbasid Caliphate. And he did not recognize his authority. This is Imam Abu Hanifa. He was nobody, no judge, he was an ordinary person. He said, a Muslim republic is founded on the collective endorsement of the people. If I may say for the audience in Urdu, खिलाफत मुसलमानों के इज्तिमा और से होती है, मशवरे से होती है, इज्तिमाई मशवरे से होती है. Laying down the foundation of democracy. What else is democracy? He used to criticize the judgments, the actions of the ruler, So what the ruler did, he said, okay, you know so much, I appoint you as the Chief Justice. He says, no, I will not. I do not accept, because he did not want to accept anything, because he did not consider the rule legitimate. So he was given 110 lashes as punishment. He did not recant. He was then offered, okay, I appoint you as the Mufti. Mufti is the person who could give authoritative finding on a provision of Islamic law. I mean, maybe someone else can better put it, but that's the best I can do. So he was imprisonment, and he died in jail. And he left a will, and this is very significant, and this is what he suffered. And when he died, he left a will, a wasiya. It's a very famous wasiya of Imam Abu Hanifa, which said that do not bury me in any land which is under the illegal occupation of this ruler. So, and the ruler, Al-Mansur, responded, when he read this, he said, Man yazarni man Abi Hanifa hayyan wa mayyatan. And if I may translate it, that मुझे अबू हनीफा से कौन बचा सकता है जिंदगी में भी और मरने के बाद भी. In other words, who will save me from Abu Hanifa while he was alive and while he is dead? That even after his death he came to haunt him, that he had put a condition in his will that do not bury me. So this is the glorious tradition, our glorious tradition, which he have forgotten. We have forgotten the democratic traditions of the founder of the country. We have forgotten the constitutionalism that made this country, which made the country united. We should not embark on something new. We should not embark on discovering something else. We should go back and discover old truths which held us good. I am sorry for exceeding my time limit, but I did not get any what is a note verbal in the diplomatic language. So once again, I am truly humbled, and we must salute this diminutive figure. She was a very diminutive figure, but boy, she was one big lady. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Your Lordship. With this, we come to the conclusion of our inaugural session. For the next 2 days, there will be several sessions on constitutionalism, on gender justice and equality, on climate change, on economic justice, and the conference ending tomorrow in the evening with the chief guest of honor being the foreign minister and the chairman of the Pakistan People's Party, Bilawal Bhutto. For the moment, we'll have a break and there will be lunch. What? And please tweet #AJCon and this lunch served outside on the right. Thank you.
समझो हमने बुला दिया। ये मिट्टी तुमको प्यारी थी, ये मिट्टी तुमको प्यारी थी, समझो मिट्टी में सुला दिया मत।
जो कलीदी बुनियादी हकूक़ हैं, बेसिक फ्रीडम्स हैं, जैसे आज़ादी इज्तिमा और आज़ादी तंजीम, वो भी डिपेंड करती हैं आज़ादी इज़हार पर। आप कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे अगर आज़ादी इज़हार ना हो, क्योंकि इस वक्त सूरत हाल जो है वो ये है कि आप तक सच को पहुंचने नहीं दिया जाता।
मेहनत कश को जिस जन्नत का तुमने दिखाया सुंदर।
कुदरत हमें इंसान बना के भेजती है ऊपर से, कोई ठप्पा लगा के ऊपर से नहीं भेजती।